Hello everyone, you are welcome to my channel. Today we are going to read chapter 14 from the book Revolutionary Psychology by Samael and Weor. This chapter is entitled Negative Thoughts, and it says, in this devolving and decadent era, it is unusual for anyone to think with profundity and with full attention. Diverse thoughts surge from the intellectual center, not from a permanent eye, as the learned ignorant muses foolishly assume, but from the different eyes in each of us. When a person is thinking, he firmly believes that he is the one who is thinking in himself and by himself. The wretched intellectual mammal doesn't want to realize that the multiple thoughts that cross his mind have their origin in the different eyes which we carry within. This signifies that we aren't true thinking individuals. Indeed, we don't yet have an individual mind. However, each of the different eyes that we carry within utilizes our intellectual center at any time as often as possible. Each of them utilizes this intellectual center in order to think. Therefore, to identify ourselves with this or that negative and harmful thought, believing it to be our particular property, would be an absurdity. Obviously, this or that negative thought proceeds from any eye which in a given moment has abusively used our intellectual center. Different types of negative thoughts exist, namely suspicion, distrust, ill will towards another person, passionate jealousy, religious jealousy, political jealousy, family or friendship jealousy, covetousness, lust, revenge, anger, pride, hatred, resentment, theft, adultery, laziness, gluttony, etc. Indeed, we couldn't succeed in enumerating all the psychological defects we have since there are too many. Not even if we had a steel palate and 1,000 tongues to speak. Therefore, and as a corollary to the former statement, to identify us with negative thoughts is an absurdity. Since it is impossible for an effect to exist without a cause, we solemnly affirm that a thought could never exist by itself, by a spontaneous generation. The relation between thinker and thoughts is obvious. Each negative thought has its origin in a different thinker. Many negative thinkers exist within each one of us, as many thoughts of the same class. Examining this subject matter from the pluralized angle of thinkers and thoughts, it is understood then that each one of these eyes that we carry in our psyche is certainly a different thinker. Unquestionably, too many thinkers exist inside each one of us. Nonetheless, each one of these inner thinkers, in spite of being merely one part, believes himself to be the whole at any given moment. The mythomaniacs, megalomaniacs, ego worshippers, narcissists, and paranoid ones would never accept the thesis of the plurality of thinkers, because they love themselves too much. They believe themselves to be Superman's daddy or Wonder Woman mommy. How could such a normal people accept the idea that they don't possess an individual, brilliant and marvelous mind? Nevertheless, those know-it-all ignorant muses think the best of themselves and even wear the robe of Aristippus in order to demonstrate wisdom and humility. It is stated, in accordance with the legend of time, that Aristippus wanted to demonstrate wisdom and humility. So he decked himself with an old robe full of patches and holes, then held the rod of philosophy with his right hand and walked the streets of Athens. When Socrates saw him coming, he exclaimed in a loud voice, "O Aristippus, your vanity shone through the holes of your vesture." The one who unceasingly doesn't live in a state of alert novelty, alert perception, thinking that he is thinking, easily becomes identified with any negative thought. Thus, lamentably, as an outcome of his behavior, he strengthens the disastrous power of the negative I, who is the author of the corresponding thought in question. The more we identify ourselves with a negative thought, the more we shall be a slave of the corresponding I that characterize it. Regarding gnosis, the sacred path, and the work upon oneself, our own particular temptations are precisely found in those eyes who hate gnosis, who hate the esoteric work. These eyes don't ignore that their existence within our psyche is mortally threatened by gnosis and by this work. Those quarrelsome and negative eyes easily take control of certain mental films that are stored in our intellectual center, which sequentially originate harmful and nauseous mental currents. If we accept those thoughts, those negative eyes, which at any given moment control our intellectual center, we shall then be incapable of freeing ourselves from their influence. We must never forget that every negative eye deceives itself and betrays to that end its lies. Each time that one feels a sudden loss of strength, when the aspirant becomes disillusioned about gnosis, about the esoteric work when one loses the enthusiasm and abandons what is best. It is obvious that one has been deceived by some negative eye. The negative eye of jealousy deceives those beings who adore each other and destroy their happiness. The negative eye of mystical pride deceives the devotees of the path, thus believing themselves to be wise. They despise their master and betray him. The negative eye appeals to our personal experiences, our memories, our best wishes, our sincerity. Hence, amidst all of these things, through a rigorous selection, this negative eye presents something under a false light, something that fascinates. Thus, the outcome is failure. Nonetheless, when one discovers that eye in action, when one has learned to live in a state of alertness, then such a deception becomes impossible. I'll see you in the next chapter. Goodbye.